Good evening. In progress. Good evening. I'm Kate Macmillan, the District Library Services Coordinator. I'm here to introduce our host, Marilyn Avalon, the Donaldson Way principal, and our virtual author, Joanna Ho. The only I can think of to describe Joanna Ho is amazing, and that's with all capital letters. She even has two bios online, one for goofballs and one for serious reviewers. Of course, I chose the goofball bio. Some very interesting facts. Joanna has, as she calls them, two rascally children and is an assistant principal of a Bay Area high school, and for our purposes, a very important up-and-coming author. The daughter of Taiwanese and Chinese immigrants, she grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and the Bay Area, so we can claim her as one of our own. Her 2021 picture book, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, was an instant New York bestseller. Of course it was. But when her editor called to give her the good news, she said, and I quote, "I collapsed in my driveway while yelling at my editor to shut up." Her picture books also include Playing at the Border, a story of Yo-Yo Ma, Eyes That Speak to the Stars that was released last month. Her debut young adult novel, The Silence That Binds, will be released later this year. One last thought about Joanna's goofball bio. During summer beach trips, she loves to eat Mary Ann's 1020 ice cream. I thought, what in the world is 1020 ice cream? Decoded, it's caramel ice cream with chocolate swirls and chocolate sandwich cookies. Just like Joanna's books, it sounds good to me. Thank you, Joanna, for being here with us.
Hi, Joanna. I'm Marilyn Avalon, Principal of Donaldson Way. It's such a pleasure to have you join us with the Napa Valley Unified School District. And I want to let you know your book, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, has truly resonated with me and many of the children that I've read it to in our library. I know you're going to share more, but I wanted to let you know this beautiful book on self-acceptance, cultural roots, and family love and legacy really resonated with the students at my school and with me. And I know many of the adults that plan on reading it too. It's a beautiful, beautiful book and story.
Thank you so much. Well, I think those are the best introductions I've ever had. So thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you today. Thank you all for coming on this Thursday evening. You could be watching the Olympics and doing so many other things. So thanks for coming to spend a little bit of your evening with us today. I'm going to ask you some questions along the way. I wish I could see you all in person so that I could see your faces and hear your voices. But I will just know that you're thinking on these things. So what I want you to do is maybe share with someone next to you. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. Sorry. Let me do that. Minor detail. 1 second. Let's do this one. I hope this works. Can you all see that? Beautiful. Okay. So I know you can't share, maybe share with someone next to you, but I would love to know, what are some of your favorite animated movies? So let me give you like 10 seconds to think about it. Animated movies, things that are like cartoons. What are some of your favorites? I'm going to tell you some of mine. Okay, you might be wondering, why am I asking about movies when I'm here to talk about a book? But I'll get there, I promise. So when I was growing up, I only had Disney movies. There wasn't any there wasn't like Amazon or Netflix or any of, I know we had to go to the Blockbuster to borrow VHS, to put it in a VHS player. So it was like ancient days, and I had really few movies. So you might recognize some of these characters. This is one of them. This is Ariel from the Little Mermaid. And while I click through these, what I want you to do is I want you to notice what is similar about their faces. Okay, I know they're all princesses. What's similar about how they look? There's Ariel. There's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. There's Sleeping Beauty, or Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. And then here's Cinderella from Cinderella. Okay, here they all are again together. So maybe think in your head or talk to your parent or your child or whatever human is sitting near you, if there is any. And what is something similar that you notice about all of their faces? Okay, so maybe you can like do a wiggle if I say something that you were thinking. Maybe you notice that they all have very light colored eyes. 3 of them have blue eyes and one of them has kind of light hazel eyes. Maybe you notice that they're all white. Maybe you notice that 2 of them have blonde hair. One of them has red hair. One of them has brown hair. Maybe you notice all their lips are the same shape and the same color red almost, and that they all have small pointy noses. Okay. So these are all things that I noticed when I was a little girl. And I'll show you what I look like when I was in 1st grade. I look like this. I used to want to be a teacher because I saw that my teachers got a lot of presents at Christmas time. And I thought that would be pretty great to be a teacher, to get a lot of Christmas presents at Christmas. I did eventually become a teacher, but I don't get a lot of presents at Christmas because I work in high schools. But I did not look anything. Let's remember what those characters look like. Okay, remember when I was little, all the people I saw in movies and all the people I read about in book were described, beautiful girls were always described as having flowing golden locks, flowing golden hair, big blue eyes, and long eyelashes. And I look like this. I didn't look like that at all. I was like basically the polar opposite of every beautiful girl I ever read about or saw as a child. And I started to really believe that I couldn't be beautiful because I didn't look like all the beautiful girls. This is what I looked like in 7th grade. I used to really hate this picture. Now I think it's sort of funny. I had big braces, I had humongous glasses. I'm not really sure what's happening with my hair. And my eyes are shaped the way they are. Okay. So at this point, I used to look in the mirror and I would lift up my eyelids just like this. And I would try to imagine myself with just slightly bigger eyes because I thought if my eyes were bigger and rounder, maybe I could be beautiful one day. And isn't that sort of sad that I used to think like that? Because do you want to see what I would look like if I actually had eyes the size of a Disney princess? If I had a chat, I'd ask you to type 1 in the chat. Okay, ready? Give me a drum roll. This is what I would look like if I had eyes the size of a Disney princess. I would look a little bit like an alien bug because the way that their faces and their eyes are drawn are not real. Nobody has eyes that big. It's impossible. And if we did, we would look really, really weird. So it took me a really long time to recognize that having eyes the ways that they shape the way my eyes were shaped is actually such a gift. And that's one reason that I wrote Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, because I know I didn't want my little girl or my little boy wishing that they had different shaped faces and differently shaped eyes. But I also didn't want other little humans making fun of Asian kids with eyes shaped like mine, because that happened to me a lot too when I was a little girl, and I will talk more about that. So what I'm going to do is I will read, actually, so I know many of you have read the book, but I'm going to read it to you, and then that way I'm going to come back and then I'm going to share with you some of the secrets that are inside the book that you maybe didn't notice. They're not like secrets, but maybe you didn't notice them the first 15 times you've read the book, because I know I didn't at first. So first, so maybe, okay, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners by Joanna Ho, illustrated by Young Ho. Some people have eyes like sapphire lagoons, with lashes like lace trim on ball gowns, sweeping their cheeks as they twirl. Big eyes, long lashes. Not me. I have eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea. My eyes are just like Mama's. Mama's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea crinkle into crescent moons when she comes home from work. She scoops me in her arms, eyes sparkling like starlight, and tickles me until we laugh ourselves onto the floor. When Mama tucks me in at night, her eyes tell me I'm a miracle. In those moments when she's all mine, flecks of dancing gold tell me I'm hers too. My mama is my sun and sky, and her eyes are just like Ama's. Ama's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea don't work like they used to, but she sees all the way into my heart and can even read my mind. Her eyes are filled with so many stories I can fall inside them and swim until time stops. I see Guan Yin with the monkey king sitting on a lotus serene, baubles of lychee on trees and mountains that reach for the sea. My Ama never ages, and her eyes are just like Mei's. Mei's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea blink against the window until I come home from school. They disappear beneath her two-tooth smile when I walk in the door. She toddles after me, gazing up at me like I am her best present. I hope she looks at me like that forever, because when she looks at me in that Mei way, I feel like I can fly. Mei's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea are just like mine. My eyes crinkle into crescent moons and sparkle like the stars. Gold flecks dance and twirl while stories whirl in their oolong pools, carrying tales of the past and hope for the future. My eyes find mountains that rise ahead and look up when others shut down. My lashes curve like the swords of warriors, and through them, I see kingdoms in the clouds. My eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea are a revolution. They are Mama and Ama and Mei. They are me, and they are beautiful. Okay. So let's go back in and look at some things you maybe didn't notice the first few times. So first, let's look at these flowers. So what do you notice about these flowers? You might notice they're kind of a similar color as my sweater, because yellow is my favorite color. And I thought that Young made these flowers yellow. Maybe somehow she did some research and she figured out yellow is my favorite color and she made them yellow. But that is not why she made them yellow. So she made them yellow because of this dress. So this is a dress that Constance Wu, the actress, she was in Crazy Rich Asians, which is the first movie in over 25 years that had an all Asian cast. So that means in my whole lifetime, up until this movie, there had only been 2 movies with an all Asian cast up until this movie came out. And so it was a really significant moment. Throughout history, people really used to make fun of Asian people. They would make cartoons like this. They didn't want us in the country. Notice how they drew our eyes. They thought we had diseases and we were immoral and that we were robbers. Look again here at how they draw our eyes. They thought we were violent and dangerous. And again, look at carefully at how they drew our eyes. This is a Dr. Seuss cartoon. He wanted people who were of Japanese descent, even if they were born in the United States, to be put in prisons and internment camps. And he made this cartoon to kind of promote that. And so notice how they drew our eyes. And so Constance Wu, and you notice down here, it says the yellow terror in all his glory. So yellow peril, yellow terror is one thing that people used to say to put down Asian people in this country and to justify making super unfair laws about us. So Constance Wu, she wore this yellow dress to take back the color yellow. And in the movie Crazy Rich Asians, it starts with the song called Yellow by Coldplay, but it's a new version of it that's sung all in Chinese. So it's really, really beautiful. Sung by Catherine Ho. Everyone is last name Ho. Kind of awesome. And so she took back the color yellow to say, we're beautiful. We're retaking our own stories. We're taking back our own power. And that's the same reason that these flowers are yellow. So now that I know that, I love this page even more, but also look at the shape of the flowers. Okay. I'll come back to that in a second. So we go all the way here. I want you to notice the flowers that are painted here, and then notice the flowers here. And then you might notice here, there's flowers on all these pages, right? And then you notice here on the side, there's a little upside down diamond, and there's a Chinese character written in it, and it's upside down. And that is because this word is fu, it means blessings. And you turn it upside down because the word upside down is dao. Okay, I'll say it one more time, dao in Mandarin. And then the word for here is dao. like it's arrived, it's here. So Dao. So notice it's the same sound, but a different tone. So Dao and Dao. So around Chinese New Year, you'll see people put a lot of upside down signs, like it might be a word that says blessing, it might be a word that says happiness, and you put it upside down because the word sounds so similar. The belief is like, if you turn it upside down, then it's here, because if it's Dao, then it's Dao. Okay, so that's one thing that I love that she included in the illustrations. Oh, sorry, I skipped my kids. So the relationship that you see between the little girl and her little sister is a lot based on my two kids. This picture is a couple years old now, but when my son started going to school, my daughter, who's like 2.5 years younger than him, would just wait at home. Like it was no fun at home until he got home. And so she'd always be like, where's Carter? Where's Carter? So that's sort of what this is inspired from. Notice again the flowers in the background. And then where is she standing? She is standing in a field full of flowers. So remember, it's all painted. It was just in her imagination, and now it's real. So there's a lot of that kind of theme here. So the other things I will share are this phoenix. This illustration of phoenix in Chinese culture is often a female character. So it's a symbol of rebirth, of renewal, of change, sort of a new beginning. And you'll see her. A dragon is more of a male character. So in Eyes That Speak to the Stars, that just came out on Tuesday, so 2 days ago, which is a companion book to this, that's all about a little boy, there's a lot of dragons in that one. And in this one, you see a phoenix. So you see her here recognizing she is a warrior. She can see things in the clouds, and that's like the future. She can create that change. She's recognizing her power, and the phoenix is right here. And then here, all the flowers behind her are the flowers that you see on all the pages before. So you have the different kinds of flowers from all the other pages, and these phoenix feathers that are from the phoenix tail. This is something I did not notice the first like 20 times I read the book until my editor pointed them out. And I was like, oh, I just thought those were a cool design. I didn't realize that they were the phoenix feathers. So I loved that symbolism here of all the flowers plus the phoenix and change. And you see the flowers here again in the background. And then this is my family. So the relationships in this book are a lot based on the relationships in my own life. So you can see my mom. When my daughter saw the book, she pointed at the little girl and she said, "That's me, Mama," the one with the pigtail. And she pointed at the mom and she said, "That's you, Mama." And of course I was like, ah. And then she looked at that Ma. She was like, "That doesn't look like Amma. Amma has orange hair." So, but that's my mom with orange hair. And then that's my stepdad. And then this is my grandma, my Amma. So she was legally blind. She was blind. She was like, she couldn't really see anyone. And she only spoke Taiwanese and Japanese because she was raised in Taiwan when it was occupied by Japan. And I only spoke Mandarin and I only spoke English. So we didn't speak any of the same languages, and she couldn't see. So the Amma in this story, remember, her eyes don't work like they used to, but she can see inside her heart. And so that's really my Amma, because even though we couldn't speak the same language and she couldn't barely see me, I just knew she loved me. I used to just sit with her and I could like feel the love oozing off of her. And so that Amma character, even though, I don't know my Amma stories the way I wish I did because I didn't speak her language, I knew how much she loved me. And she would always know when I was little, and we would all take naps. And we would sleep in her room while she took a nap. And if my cousin and I did not nap, she could be snoring so loud in the bed next to me, and she would wake up and tell my mom they didn't go to sleep. It was like this magical power that she had. She knew if we were giggling in bed the whole time and not. So I'm telling you, she knew everything, even though, she's grandma. She knows everything. And then the last thing is this page. So remember the picture at the beginning? All the flowers were closed. And now they're all open. So I want you to think about, what do you think that represents? That all of these flowers are now open. And now there's butterflies. And the butterflies weren't there at the beginning. So there's so many symbols of change and rebirth and like rediscovery of self that are all throughout the book. Okay, so I wish you could share out. You can't. So I'm going to invite you to ask this question of yourself. Just what do you think the main character realizes about herself? And what do you think it means when she says her eyes are a revolution? Okay, so I'm gonna invite you to ponder that. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. let's see. Okay. So I am so grateful. Well, I'm going to share just one more thing because then I would love to save some time for questions and answers. And so what I want to share with you, because sometimes this is a question that gets asked, and I would love to just share it with an image so you know. Let me just pull it up for you. I'm going to share my screen again. And it's this one. What do y'all see on your screen? Is it a slide with book covers on it? Okay, beautiful. So that's Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. The book that just came out is Eyes That Speak to the Stars. That one follows a young boy and his dad, his akong, and his titi, his little brother. Playing at the Border, a story of Yo-Yo Ma, is about the time Yo-Yo Ma, the cellist, played at the border of Mexico and Texas, about sending a message about building bridges and not walls. And then the books you see underneath are other books that I have coming out over the next few years. The novel, The Silence That Binds Us, will be out in June. And the rest are picture books that will be out over the next few years. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for real, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Joanna, before we take questions from the audience, I just want to let you know, just hearing you read the book and the story is just so breathtaking. And as you talk about the illustrations too, many of my teachers are on this webinar right now, and that was one of their questions. They were their students were wondering about the flowers, the beautiful flowers, and the significance of the yellow. And I'm going to tell you, you almost made me cry when you were talking about the phoenix and the little girl and all of the beautiful flowers here. And I know my teachers on here are taking notes because tomorrow we want to know, what do they think about what the revolution is? So that was my comment to you, and just breathtaking. Thank you for sharing the illustrations, teaching us so much about your culture, and also noting how Asians were represented in the past. And thank you for sharing about the color yellow. You know, you're right about Crazy Rich Asians. That's the first time we've seen a movie like that in a really long time. Yeah. I know we've got a lot of young people here, but when I was growing up, I think the only movie that I saw with Asian representation might have been the Joy Luck Club.
Same. Yep, so, the only two, Joy Luck Club and then Crazy Rich Asians. And now there's like Shang-Chi and there's
so many.
There's more, but it's still not enough, but it's hopefully changing.
Well, we are grateful to you. There are many people in this audience right now that have some questions for you. Great. And probably about your book or some of the other things that you shared about.
Love it. Happy to answer anything.
So if those in the audience that have questions, if you could just raise your virtual hand, I can unmute you so you can speak.
No, don't be shy, or else I have to ask all the questions for Miss Caldwell's class.
Here we go. Oh, Miss Caldwell herself.
I was going to say, I know my students came up with so many questions, which was really exciting. Mrs. Abalon read this book to my students, and I asked like, hey, what questions do you have? And their hands shot up. They had so many. So one question that they had was, they wanted to know kind of the process of becoming an author and how long it took you to make the book. They were really interested in that whole kind of author process.
That is a great question. The author process is a long one. So I think it starts from when I decided. So let me go back. I have always loved to read. So I think becoming an author starts with really being a reader, because that is the best thing to improve your writing, is reading a lot of the kinds of books that you want to write. So when I wanted to be a picture book author, I went to the library and I checked out like 100 picture books and I just read them all. And when I wanted to start writing a young adult novel, I My agent told me read 100 young adult novels. So I really did. I tried to read 100 young adult novels, and that's the best thing you can do. But to answer in terms of the time and the process, it's a lot of time because it takes time to get good at something. So the first few things that I wrote were not really not awesome. And I was told pretty much like, you really should work on your craft. So I went to conferences and I took classes and I did a lot of practicing because, you know, when you first start out, you have to practice, you have to learn. It's okay if the first things you write are not awesome. They're awesome for where you are at that time. And then you get a lot of feedback. So I would write a story and then I would send my story to other writer friends. And I would say, hey, can you give me feedback on this? And they would mark it. I would send it on Google Doc and they mark it all up and they give me lots of comments and then I'll change it. And then I do that like 10,000 times, no exaggeration. So I'll revise it and I send it back and I revise it and I send it back and I revise it and I send it back and it goes on and on. And then maybe I send it to a different group because maybe they think different things. So I used to initially at the beginning, I would do a lot of that. So I think a huge part of the process is being open to getting feedback and knowing that feedback is actually helping you grow. It's not like an insult to you. It's just great suggestions to make your writing better. And then to become a published author. So I think there's two different parts of that question. One is how do you become a published author? And then how do you become an author? Because you can be an author, you don't have to be published. If you're writing a story, you're an author, okay? So just know that. I think lots of you are probably authors because I bet you are writing pretty great stories in class or at home. For me, I really wanted to be a traditionally published author. I didn't want to self-publish. That just means I didn't want to publish my own book. I wanted someone to publish it for me and send it out to schools and bookstores for me. So I had to find an agent. So finding an agent means that I wrote I had to really work on my stories and gather up like a portfolio almost of the kinds of stories I'd written. And that was a long process because it takes a long time. You might send a story and a letter to an agent and you might not hear back for several months. You might never hear back because they get asked so many times to be agents for other people. So that was a process that took me quite a few months and some rejections until I finally signed with my agent. And then from there, she sends out my story to publishers. I told you it takes a really long time. And when Isaac Kiss in the Corners went out, it went out with 3 or 4 other books. And we just got rejections for more than a year and a half. So nobody wanted to publish any of my books for almost 2 years. And then when we finally found my editor who saw the story and she wrote this beautiful email about how it was a story she wished she had when she was a kid and she wanted to publish it so much. And we knew we found the perfect person. But so part of that is just being really patient and not giving up because it was really hard to be rejected for so long. And you know, you start to wonder, you don't know if it's going to happen. You start to doubt, but you just can't give up and you have to keep writing. And then that's how that became published. And guess what? After it got picked up, it was another 2.5 years before it came out. So it just came out last year, Isaac Kiss in the Corners, and that was a really, really long process for my first book to come out. I know that's not the funnest answer, but if you want to become a published writer, you have to be patient and you have to keep trying without giving up.
I love your response, Joanna, because we have many teachers on here too, and probably some sports enthusiasts, and we know we get better with coaching. Yeah. The writing process is very hard, as you know, and also for students to receive that feedback. But you know, feedback just makes you grow and gets you better. Thank you. That was a beautiful question, Mrs. Caldwell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Wendy Miller.
I just wanted to say that I love your book. I love how you explained that how when you explained how different you are from other people, but even if you're different, you're still part of your family, and that just touched my heart.
Oh my gosh, you touch my heart. Thank you for that comment. And can I tell you something? I think sometimes this world or this society or the people, the things we make us feel different. And something that I realize on this journey is, you know what? There are like a billion people in the world with eyes that are shaped like mine. I'm actually not that different. It's just that sometimes we're in places that make us feel different. And so for you, whatever that is, there are certainly people who I think to draw strength and find that love that wherever that is, if it's in your family or at your school, but to know that it's not so much about being different as it is about valuing and honoring all of us for all the uniqueness that we have.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that comment. You just made my whole day.
I love that one, Mrs. Miller. And hi, Natalie. I love your voice. I love your comments.
Hi.
Okay, up next is Sydney.
Go ahead and unmute, Sydney.
Sydney might be having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to
Okay.
move on to the next one. And if she puts her
Okay.
hand back up, we'll re-enable. Next one is Rodrigo Avila.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I like to draw, and my middle name is also Phoenix.
Amazing. What do you like to draw, Cameron?
Anime.
You like to draw anime? I'll tell you a secret. Today we had an anime artist visit our school to talk about how you can do that, and she gave lots of tips. So if you love to draw, it's just like writing, because you know there's so many different ways to tell stories. You can do it through words, you can do it through pictures, and it's the same thing. You practice and you practice and you practice. And she showed us a bunch of books. I'll teach you one trick. I only just learned this today, and that's why I know it. But she said, if you keep a mirror close to you all the time, you can see your expressions. And so then when you're drawing, you're always studying your own face to know how you can practice those moves. I don't know if that's helpful or if anime is what you like to draw, but that is something that I learned today. So you should keep pursuing that art.
I'm learning unique things too, Cameron. I didn't know about the anime, so I get a picture. I want a picture from my office store. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, is Sydney back?
Oh, did you? Are you done?
He is.
Not yet.
Oh, do you have one more, Cameron? Keep going.
Wait, I forgot.
So we were talking as you were reading the book, and she really was moved by the pictures, and she wanted to know what is the process, or was there a process between you and the illustrator? Yeah, because I think she was thinking like she loves to draw, and it would be nice to like maybe go that route later in the future, right?
Okay, so hot tips. This is also something I learned today, but I've also heard this at art conferences, is the most important thing as an artist is to build your portfolio. So a lot of times artist portfolios are online. So that's like drawing all the pictures and studying the kind of art you want to draw. So if you are interested in doing picture books, reading a lot of picture books and doing that kind of art, and then creating a portfolio and putting it online. That's how people find you. Just
Awesome.
So even more than like finding the right jobs or the internships, like what people will look for is your portfolio. But in terms of your question about the illustrator, here is something that I think is very scary, but also very beautiful about the picture book process is I'm an author, I'm not an illustrator. And so after I go through the whole revision process with my editor, she says, okay, I think this is it. And then it's there. And then I never see it again. And she chooses the illustrator, especially at the beginning. I didn't really even get to choose, just be like, I think this is the one. And she showed me and I saw the pictures and I was like, whoa, these are amazing. Of course, that's perfect. But now that I have more books, sometimes I get to help pick the illustrator, but before I didn't. And I just feel like she picked the perfect one. But then every few months, she and the art director, they work with the illustrator and I'm not part of it at all. It's just silence. And then like one day an email will pop up and it'll be like, here's some sketches of like the characters. What do you think? And maybe I'll give a couple points here and there. Like I might be like, oh, the Amma looks too much like the Amma in Mulan. Like, can we change her face a little bit? And then it's gone, it's like disappear again for another like several months. And then it'd be like, here's some sketches of all the interior pages. And then maybe I give a couple points. And then it's gone for another few months. Oh, here's the color copies. So all of that is to say, I have very, very little interaction with the art, never with the artist directly, always through my editor. And what I've learned through this process is that is so beautiful, because all of those layers that I told you, those were things that came from her heart and her work with the editor and reading the text that I wrote and making it even deeper. So she saw what I was trying to say and she could like show it through her artwork with even more layers. Because I didn't say, hey, draw a lot of flowers and then throw a phoenix here. I like looked down, I was like, whoa, a phoenix, this is amazing. I never even thought of that, you know? So I think there's something really beautiful about the collaborative way that happens, that like two people's hearts and two people's arts can work together to make one story.
Awesome.
I'm also an animation fan.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, we're in the right area. There's a lot of animation happening around here. And do you know what else? There are a lot of people, I won't say a lot, but there's a few illustrators who also are animators. So if you look up like Benson Shum, he just came out with a new book called Anzu, the Great Kaiju. It's super cute. It's a picture book. Anzu, A-N-Z-U, the Great Kaiju, K-I-J-U. But he's also an animator. He worked on Encanto. He works at Disney. So you don't only have to choose one thing. You can do lots of things with those skills.
Thank you so much. We love your book.
Oh, thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Awesome questions.
Yes.
So it looks like Sydney is back.
Yay.
Hi, Sydney.
How did you come with the story?
How did I come up with the story? Oh gosh, that's a good question. I knew I wanted to write a story about a young Asian girl who felt some type of way about her eyes. And I thought a lot about how would a young girl recognize her own beauty. And I thought maybe people will tell her, maybe she'll go throughout the day and people tell her she's beautiful. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that doesn't ever actually work. When someone tells you beautiful, that's not what changes your heart. So I thought, nope, that's not right. And then I thought about my own family. I was raised by a single mom. My mom's dad died when she was 19, so I never met him. And she had, my Amma, who I showed you a picture of. And I thought about my family and how change happens and how one might feel empowered, which led me to thinking about how, our eyes are passed down from our families. My eyes look like my mom's eyes, that look like her mom's eyes. These are some things that are passed down, and it made me think about what else is passed down and what's represented in this face. So when we say we don't look like the way we look, we're also saying we don't like our family, like where we're from and our cultures and our histories. And so that's sort of where that came from. I wanted her to go through the relationships that she had with each of her family members and to recognize all these things that she learned and could feel from their eyes, so that she could recognize she had all those things too in her heart.
That's really cool.
Thank you. Thanks for your
That was
question.
a really cool question too, Sydney. Thank you.
Looks like we have another one from Wendy Miller.
I also want to say, I like how you talked about siblings and how the little siblings wait until you like how the bigger brothers or sisters like come home and they're like super waiting and they're like, it's super cute how the little girl was holding a bunny and it just was amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I actually have one sibling.
Older or younger?
Older.
Older. So which character do you relate to the most?
I think I relate to the younger one.
You
the
do.
most. Yeah.
That's super sweet. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I think that the relationships that siblings have are really beautiful. And I love watching my own kids and how they navigate each other and like love on each other. Sometimes we don't show that love all the time.
I love to see that with siblings. It's really nice, and it's just nice to see it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments.
Thank you, Natalie. That's a good one.
Mhm.
Well, I have one for you, if that's okay.
I do. I also see Rosie's
Oh,
raising her
Rosie, you go
hand.
first.
Rosie, go right ahead.
Oh yeah, like how did you come up with the book that you made? Like it was like really nice book.
Oh, thanks so much, Rosie. I shared a little bit about that. You know, it came from how I used to feel as a little girl, and then it came out of the relationships I have with my family members. And honestly, it also came from having a lot of rejections, or I was writing stories that I thought should be in the world, and I didn't. You know, I came to a realization that I was trying to tell other people's stories, but I hadn't really told the stories of my own heart. And so I started asking myself, what did I used to feel when I was a little girl? And the sad thing is that this is the first story that came to mind is I remember feeling really sad about how my eyes were shaped. And that's where this was born. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Rosie. Well, on the playground today, Joanna, the second and third graders were swirling around me, and they actually wrote this question, but on the playground they were asking me, but I didn't have the answer. So I'm going to ask you the question. So the question from my students is, how do you make books while having a job? And we know that you are also a principal. So my students want to know, and I kind of want to know too, how do you balance that? How are you this wonderful, amazing New York Times bestseller and running a school at the same time? What is your magic?
You know, it's really messy. I'm in my office at work right now. And I'll probably be in here a little bit longer when we're done. I do all my writing. So I feel like my priorities are my kids. That's number one. Then I have this job and my students and my teachers. And then all my writing happens in all the other free time, which isn't a lot. So sometimes I wake up really early, although during the pandemic, that hasn't happened pretty much ever because it's been so tiring being in schools at this time. But I'll write sometimes at night when my kids go to sleep. And then sometimes I write on the weekends when my kids are sometimes with their dad. And so I will write on those times. So a lot of times, any free time, any vacation time I have, I'm writing. Part of that is because I have deadlines, and part of that is because it's very healing for me. So I never have a free moment. I don't rest a lot. So I don't think that that's actually a healthy example, but I really love all the things that I do, and I feel really grateful for the opportunity to do them. I think it's such a special, just like opportunity to be able to tell stories. And I think sometimes that as actually having that outlet helps me not get too bogged down when my job gets really hard. So it's a lot about just squishing. I do a lot of multitasking. You know, like if I'm exercising, I'm also watching TV and watching like the Olympics, or if I'm running to run an errand also at the post office. But it's a lot of getting multiple things done at the same time, and then just pursuing the things that I really love.
Thank you. I love that response. You're very scheduled, and your writing is very meditative too. And you're using as many creative opportunities as you can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, this is Kate, and I have a question. It's
Okay.
very rare that we ever see a picture book, or a children's picture book author make the jump to a young adult author. Can you sort of describe how that happened?
Yeah. Do you know what? I was like, I will never write a young adult novel. Well, I cannot figure out that many complex storylines and build a whole world. And then I read Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give. And
yes.
I just read it and I was like, oh, because in my head, I actually really love reading fantasy. And I was like, there's no way I'm making up new worlds and new languages and all that stuff. And I read The Hate You Give and I was like, oh, I want to write something like this about Asian people. I want like something that really tells our stories and explores racism this way. And when I had that feeling, I was like, oh gosh, I have to write a novel. But I think the truth is, because my whole career in education has been with high school kids, it wasn't like finding the right voice or understanding the issues or truthfully knowing that young people are brilliant and that they see everything in the world. It didn't feel like such a huge leap. It was more just in my head, like, can I do it? And okay, like I'm going to really do this thing. I better read like 100 novels and learn what it is I'm doing.
Great. Well, we hope to see it as soon as it comes out.
Thanks. June 14th.
All right.
It looks like you
That's
do have
exciting.
one more question if you have time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm going to mispronounce this. Aval Nur Singh Mangat. Please correct me so I know how to say that.
It's Aval Nur Singh Mangat.
Thank you.
How do you make like the cover of your books?
Oh, do you know what? That is not me. I take zero credit for that. So remember how I was saying that the illustrator does all the illustrations and I don't they just appear in my inbox. So she, I think, works with the art director, and I can tell you some of the thought they went behind it. So they wanted to show an Asian girl's face because there's something really powerful about seeing a face that represents you on the cover. And if you look at a lot of kids' books, you know, for all of history, there haven't been that many with Asian faces on them. So they wanted to show the face, but they didn't want to show her eyes full on because they wanted it to be a reveal. You know, if you actually look at the first few pages of the book, you see the girl, but you don't see her eyes until like a couple pages in when she says, I have eyes that kiss in the corners. So they wanted to show her and they wanted to see the shape of her eye without seeing her whole face. So those are some of the thoughts that went into the cover, but all the magic is from Jung, the artist.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alvanor.
And during that question, two more popped up. Very good audience engagement. Rosie has one more.
Rosie.
Like, did you make the book or did like somebody else do it? Or
Well,
are you just an author?
I'm just the author. That's me. I wrote the word. Someone else did all the illustrations and she is magical. She lives in Vietnam. Her name is Jung Ho. We have the same last name, but we speak different languages. We're from different parts of the world. We're not related. We just have the same phonetic last name, but her art is so beautiful, as you've seen.
Okay, and then last one from Rosa.
Do you have more books or is that the only one?
I do. So do you remember that slide? Maybe you missed it. I shared a slide that had pictures of the other books that I have. Oh shoot, I've closed it now, but I do have a few other books coming out. So I have the Eyes That Kiss in the Corners that came out last year. This just 2 days ago, Eyes That Speak to the Stars came out. That is the companion book to Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. So let me pull it up for you really fast and then I'll share my screen as it pulls up. I have a young adult novel coming out. So I'll share my screen so you can see all the the covers, because I think that is sometimes helpful. I hope this is the right screen though. Are you seeing the right one? Oh, now I've lost all of you. Is that the right one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you can see Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, Eyes That Speak to the Stars. That one just came out. Playing at the Border, A Story of Yo-Yo Ma. That one was out last September. The Silence That Binds Us is my YA novel. And then these are titles of just some of the other books that I have coming out. There's a few other ones here, but I'm not allowed to talk about them yet.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosa.
You're just so popular. They keep coming. Let me know if you or Kate or Marilyn, if we need to cut off at any time, but you have one more, Rodrigo Avila.
Let's do one more.
Okay, Cameron, you're up.
I wanted when you said that people were making fun of Asia eyes, your eyes look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
You're welcome. That's it.
Cameron.
Cameron.
I think that we have time maybe for one more at 6:59, or if there isn't somebody in the queue, then maybe we should wrap this up.
There is one last one. We have some repeat
good.
players a lot. Rosie?
Also, like, you know that I said, did you make this book? Like, I was gonna ask you that, but like I didn't get like time to read it, but like when I saw your video in my class, I was like, that's a very beautiful book.
That is so nice of you. Thanks so much, Rosie.
I think that's great. It's 6:59, and this was absolutely fabulous. It's yeah, I just, it's like saying again, it's amazing with all capital letters. And I know that Marilyn would say the same thing. And we really want you to come back so we can have that 1020 ice cream with you.
Yes.
So Joanna, on behalf of Napa Valley Unified and Donald Sway, all my teachers and students that are here, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you for sharing this beautiful book and the story of love and legacy and family. Just everything that you talked about, the beautiful illustrations and historical perspectives. We thank you. So I want you to know, so I purchased a copy of this book for every single one of my teachers so they can have their own copy in the library. But right now, everybody sign up for my book chat. I'm on. So I don't know, I'm kind of popular when I read your book out loud, Johanna. So now we're going to get the second one, and we're going to also get the Yo-Yo Ma book too. So thank you for sharing your beautiful stories of inspiration to all of us.
Oh, thank you so much for making the opportunity to come visit. It really is a pleasure.
And this book is available in all school libraries throughout Napa too.
Oh, that's
Napa Unified, yes.
Thank
So
you.
it was fabulous. We really, Marilyn and I just were so pleased to have you. And let me tell you, it was Marilyn's idea too. She
Thanks,
really
Marilyn.
legislated for you, yes.
I really appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And thank you for
Pleasure.
this evening. Have a really, really wonderful night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night, Donald Sway Dragons. All you kids go to sleep.
Yeah. Let's go one more tomorrow, one more day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.